Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 4th Town of Monroe meeting. There are two exits behind you, one out to our left, your right, over here. If everyone could please silence their phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda is the audit of claims. There is one in here that I have pulled and I'd like to discuss in executive session, but I would think that we'd approve every one with the exception of that one.
Is it included in the total?
No, we're gonna have to, I just want to find it in here because I went through it quickly before. Okay, so the PO number on it is 18-02571. It's on page 2, and the total is $475.23. So that would mean 6. So we'd be approving 491. 409. Wait a minute.
574.
491. $663.14. So $491,663.14 for approval. So I need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion for you.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
And regarding the road opening, also with the, we need a motion for that. Last page.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, my mistake. Thank you, Mary. So, the audited vouchers for the road opening, there were 2 of them. One was for Saga Construction, the return of their opening bond, which was given to us in 2017. And then the Keith and Martha Singer, the same, their road opening bond, which was $1,500. Saga Constructions was $750. So the total on that is $2,250.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit for the return of the bonds for the road openings.
Cologne, a second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Acceptance of minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the January 7th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Changes, alterations, revisions? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. January 14th.
I'll make a motion that we accept those minutes, January 14th minutes.
Cologne, no, second.
Any discussion? The only thing I have on that is, and I thought I took the minutes with me, but.
Would you like a copy?
The 14th.
No, I got it. Is the actual and it might have been the 7th, the actual pay for the new highway employee, which, no, it was on the 14th, okay? We originally approved it for $29.62, and it has to be revised to $27.51. I guess there was an error in the math when John was calculating it. So basically what happens is the contract reads that he gets 85% of the MEO base, which for this year is $32.37. So he'll get 85% of that, which is $27.51. So that's the only correction I'd like to make, but
Do you want to,
council, we have to pass another motion for that, I would assume, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
would
number
the-
5.1.
So what will we do? Delete that part?
We're going to amend that.
Amend it?
We're going to amend,
Here it is, it's 5.1.
I'll have to get to which,
It's on page
5.1.
3, 4.1 at the bottom.
okay, so then we'll make a motion to amend 4.3 with those changes.
Okay. So, 4.1 on page 3.
And then after we amend that, then you can make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to amend the resolution 4.1 of the January 14th minutes so that it reads, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Monroe approves to hire seasonal part-time employee Kirk Villacrez at $27.51 as an MEO employee for the highway department.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. And then we still have the motion before us for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
No, we have
So
that.
already
We have
did,
that.
right?
We're just voting, if there's no other
That was just
discussion.
a change.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you for that assistance, Mary Ellen,
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk. Okay. I'd like to leave 4.1 on for the end of the meeting for some discussion. Budgetary transfer request for highway. So, John couldn't be here tonight. He has a function with the fire department. So he's looking to move $1,707.08 from account DB 5110-4353 to account DB 5110-4304.
Reason or?
No reason. It's just an intra-departmental.
Expense.
Oh, within his own budget?
Yeah, it's with his own budget.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay,
Oh, So it's moving from one area to another just to
Yep.
cover the expense.
Yep.
All right. You want a
Yeah, we
second?
need a motion.
All right, I'll make that motion to make that budgetary transfer for highway department.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, second budgetary transfer is to move $5,227.69 from account DA 5142-4361 to account DA 5140-4304. And it's the same account that both of these are getting moved into.
I'll make that motion for that.
I'll second.
Budgetary
Okay.
transfer.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, Town Code Amendment, that's item 4.3 on the agenda. And if you guys need agendas to bring to school, they're on the table in the back when you leave, unless you want to get one now, so you can follow along. Not that I'm not saying you have to go get it. It's just, Okay, good. Thank you.
This is gripping politics at its best.
Yes.
Gripping, I say.
Okay, so we want to discuss the creation of a local law to amend Articles 2 and 3 of Chapter 51 in the Town Code of the Town of Monroe entitled Overnight Parking and Trucks and Buses Exclusions pursuant to New York State Municipal Home Rule Law. I'll turn it over to counsel so he can give us an explanation.
Yeah, Supervisor, this is proposed amendments. Again, as you stated, one concerning overnight parking regulations. And this provision, after discussion with the highway superintendent, was intended to gear the no parking restrictions when there is snow accumulating on the roadway or if it's been forecast, rather than having a strict, hours of no overnight parking when in many cases there's no forecast of snow. And the truck exclusions concerns Forest Avenue to prevent trucks where it runs into the village of Monroe from using that particular section of roadway. For tonight's purposes, the board is just setting a public hearing on the local law, and it'll be made available on the website, so there's no action that needs to be taken tonight other than setting a public hearing on the proposed local law.
Okay. So, we need a motion to set the public hearing?
Yes. You have a date?
You got a
Can we
date?
get possible dates from the town clerk as to when our next?
Our next meeting
The
is
next meeting is the
25th?
25th.
I'll make a motion that we schedule that public hearing for the 25th at 7 p.m. or shortly thereafter.
All right, I'll second that one for you.
Do we
Hold on
need
a
two
sec.
separate motions?
For each one?
No, we're
No, we're just doing
the amendments
hearing.
are to
It's to
Chapter
Chapter
51
51.
only, so even though there's different sections, we can do it with one public hearing and one proposed draft local law.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next item, 4.4, the dial-a-bus drug and alcohol testing policy. Before you, we have the final version for adoption. We worked with HR Public Sector on this and also our consultant for dial-a-bus, Jen Crover from Warwick and Dominic Pasculo. They feel that this is as tight as it's going to be, and they would like to, for us to approve it tonight. I would like to approve it pending our attorney's review. I think you saw the original draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you can just make it subject to final form approved by town council.
Okay. So I will make that motion to approve the dial-a-bus drug and alcohol testing policy.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay?
Is there any is there any conflict with the CBA that we currently have with the Teamsters with this?
No, although anything that is not in here would revert to it. But it's a matter of their acknowledging, the employees would acknowledge that this is the new testing policy. There's generalities, I guess.
Well, yeah,
In the-
Supervisor, this also is a federal law requirement.
Yes.
So it's administering the federal law when it comes to drivers. So even if it were inconsistent, it would govern over the collective bargaining agreement because it has to be done.
Yeah, because this is a requirement to obtain some of our funding reimbursements.
Yes, and for them to operate the buses.
Yep.
Question, is this going to be part of the employee handbook?
No, this is just for
Just
dial-a-bus.
for dial-a-bus. Okay.
Oh, is the union going to get a copy of this? We should make sure they
Yeah,
get
the
a copy.
union will receive a copy of
Yeah,
this.
just to make sure that they're on board with this.
Any other questions? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, so we closed on our town hall 2 weeks ago, and we have received an agreement from our engineer, McGooey, Hauser, and Edsel, for professional services for the town hall and the court modifications. This is the standard form of agreement. Mr. Nugent and I have reviewed it. He did have a couple of changes that we would like to suggest. Did you have those changes with you, counsel?
I do. There were 3 proposed changes. Well, one, there was an inconsistency in the witness fees. There was $2,000 per day and $1,500 stated in another section. Our recommendation was that rather than have witness fees, we just keep it at the hourly rate that we're paying if somebody has to testify as a witness. The second change was concerning the law that governs a contract. Right now, it just states that where the location of McGoey Hauser's office is, and we want to change that to govern by the laws of state of New York with the venue in Orange County. That's section 7.4. And the last section was section 5.3. They had a window for late payments where there would be interest after 30 days. We usually recommend that be moved to 60 days because of the timing of board meetings. We've done that in other McGoey Hauser contracts, and they haven't objected to that, so that should not be an issue. And those are the 3 proposed changes.
Okay. So if everyone is okay with that, we need a motion to approve these services, the engineer services.
I'll make a motion to approve for the engineer services with Magui Hauser Etzel.
I'll second that, provided that all changes are accepted by Magoo Hauser, that's all.
Okay. Anybody else? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarella, aye.
Begin aye.
Okay. Leak detection for water districts. Mary,
Yes, it's coming to hopefully be spring very soon, and it would be an opportunity to have the water districts checked for leaks. Right now, we are using New York Rural Water. The county, I understand, may have something in the future, but definitely I would like to have Ricky Beams reach out to New York Rural Water to set up some times that water districts 8, 10, 1, and 12, he could at least start with those and make some appointments, because if we don't start making appointments now, it's going to be hard to get them later on, because everybody's going to be reaching out to them to look for leaks.
okay. Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you,
Mary,
Mary.
we
Thank
trust.
you.
Mary, we trust.
So I want to make a motion that we authorize Ricky Beams to reach out to New York Rural Water to start making leak detection appointments for
I'll
water
second that.
districts 1, 10, 8, 12.
Okay. There's no cost associated with this, right?
Not
now?
if we
Right.
use New York Rural Water,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Great.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Mike, do you second? Oh,
Sal.
Sal, okay. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarella, aye.
Begin aye.
Okay. Our esteemed attorney's favorite topic. The Monroe balancing test for the town of Monroe's purchase of Etz Chaim's building. So I will turn it over to Mr. Nugent.
Thank you, Supervisor. So this matter concerns, there's coincidentally, it's called the Monroe case, but it has nothing to do with the town of Monroe. Excuse me. It's the County of Monroe versus Rochester case from 1988. And that case basically set forth a balancing test when there is in this case, for example, a town either constructing something or, operating within the village. And basically, the balancing test is a manner in which you, the government, analyze these 9 factors and balance the interests of, the village and the town, and whether or not the town should be subject to the village's zoning ordinance. The case, unfortunately, doesn't provide guidance on who should do the balancing test. The village had expressed through their counsel that they expected to conduct a balancing test in this issue. We prepared a letter, sent it to the village with a preliminary analysis of those 9 factors, and then we have a resolution before the board tonight with an analysis of those factors. Now, having said that, we did communicate to the village that we questioned whether at this point there would be a Monroe balancing test because the town hall use has been operating at its current location since 2015. And, there was never any issue raised. And in this case, the purchase of the town hall is not what needs to be balanced. It's the use of the building as a town hall. The religious use that's the main part of the building is a permitted as of right use in the village. However, the town hall use has been there for 3 years, so there's no change in use by the town hall purchasing it. Essentially, you're expanding that same use within the existing structure. So our initial review of this was to say to the village that we don't even believe that there needs to be a balancing because the use has been there. I don't know if in 2015 there was any discussion of the town hall use, but clearly the village has been well aware of the town hall use and operation. Nevertheless, I expect they may conduct an analysis as well, which is fine, but figured we'll have the board do its own resolution with the analysis of those Monroe factors, and then we can communicate that to the village, and they can conduct the same balancing or review our test and see if they disagree with anything that we set forth. Ultimately, we conclude it's clearly in the interests of the village residents under all of these factors to continue the town hall in its current location and to have all of those operations under one roof.
Mr. Nugent, suppose the village in exercising what it believes to be its right to do the balancing test. What if they turn around and find that our occupancy as a town hall at that location is not in keeping with their current zoning?
So in that case, the town can either litigate the issue or initially challenge that determination to the ZBA in the village. I've got to say it'd be very difficult for the village in this case because this is such a core governmental use. This isn't the town operating a facility or doing something non-government related. This is a proprietary government function, a town hall. So based on the case law, I think it would be extremely difficult for the village to come up with a balancing scenario where this use wouldn't be permitted, keeping in mind that the current use of the building as a religious facility with offices and community rooms and the very same types of spaces is already permitted. So this is certainly, A, not anything inconsistent, and B, clearly a very straightforward governmental use of the structure. So if they did, though, we would either have to go through the ZBA, and if the ZBA disagrees as well, then we would have the right to file an Article 78.
And what about the enforcement of building code and other, which normally a town would be exempt from?
Yeah, again, typically you have your own building inspector. You could, satisfy whatever requirements. In my view, if possible, the best way is to resolve that by discussion with the village to say, for example, we'll have our building inspector provide whatever it is that's needed to satisfy them. Or if they want to have a walkthrough and the town board has no objection to that, you can sort of have a mutual arrangement to do that.
Okay. Council?
Do we have to get a CVO from them?
No.
No.
We don't. Okay.
Nope.
Nope. Councilman McGinn, your occupancy question, was that relating to the actual employees in the building or the
No,
employees and if there was a meeting that had 200 people in it?
Just in general,
Okay.
do we fall under their
Under their jurisdiction?
right?
Yeah.
No.
No, you would have to comply with the building code and fire and the usual.
Right. The usual.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Safety stuff.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Similar to what went on with the theater.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have attached to the letter resolution, which basically sets forth the background and then the 9 factors with an explanation of each as far as the balancing of it. But again, we do note in the resolve section that we do believe the village had previously accepted the town hall use as permissible in the village, but that the town board desires to provide the analysis under the County of Monroe factors in any event to the village.
Okay. Item 4.7.
Do you want to do the
We gotta adopt
resolutions?
I'm sorry, yeah. Item 4.7, which is what we're just talking about.
Oh, sorry.
We would need a resolution for this, council?
There's a written resolution attached to the 4.7 letter.
Okay.
After the letter itself, you'll see the resolution document.
Right in the back.
Okay.
last page.
So I'll read that. Councilman McGinn, you've really had some issues reading lately, so would you like to read the resolution?
From the now therefore be resolved?
Yeah, I don't think you need to go through all these factors, and actually, yeah.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't even start there, because then you're going to have to read through all
I
nine
was gonna
factors.
say-
This is not a town of Blooming Grove meeting, so you
Yes.
don't have to read all.
I'm sure, you know,
I cannot
the
comment on that,
students here don't want to
Supervisor.
be here until,
But you could start with the Section 1
yes.
portion, and then the resolution clearly could be made available to
Couldn't
the
he just
public
read
if
the
it's not
conclusion
already.
part?
Okay. So,
Nice, go from here.
a meeting of the town board, a meeting of the town board of the town of Monroe, New York, was convened on February 4th, 2019, at 7 p.m., and the following resolution was duly offered and second to wit. Okay, Section 1, the above whereas clauses, I'm sorry, to date, there have been no objections or negative comments received by the town. Section 1, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein by reference as if fully set herein. The town board determines, Section 2, the town board determines that the village has previously accepted the town hall use as permissible in the village, but desires to provide an analysis of the County of Monroe factors in any event. Section 3, after a review of the record, an analysis is conducted pursuant to the County of Monroe decision. The town board hereby finds that the town should be immune and exempt from the
Applicability.
Applicability.
applicability of the Village of Monroe Code and related land use and zoning regulations with respect to the continued operation and interior expansion of the Town of Monroe Town Hall, because the continued use is a use beneficial to the public interest and promotes the health, safety, and general welfare for the reasons set forth herein. Section 4, the town clerk is hereby directed to transmit a copy of this resolution to the village board for the Village of Monroe for their actions consistent with the determination of immunity. Section 5, the resolution shall be effective immediately. The question of adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on a roll call with results as follows.
Thank you. So, any other questions? So we'll call, well, no, I'm sorry. Any other questions about the actual documents? Okay, so we'll call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Who made the motion?
Who made the motion?
I don't think anyone.
I'll make a motion that we pass the resolution
mistake.
as read and printed.
I'll second it.
One more time.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman McGinn.
You're welcome, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. Item 4.8, the DEC notice of termination for the solar farm?
Careful now.
Speedy's
I
permit.
got it.
Got it?
Yeah. This is notice of termination for the stormwater discharges authorized under the Speedy's general permit construction activity. The permit identification number is NYR 11D541. So
Is this just a notice of termination? There's no
Notice of
action that we need to
termination.
take on it?
I think we have to still accept it.
And we have to authorize you to sign it?
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
a resolution
No, I
to
have to,
authorize
yeah.
the supervisor to
Oh, here
sign.
it goes. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So, we need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we accept the notice of termination for the stormwater discharge permit ID number NYR11D like in dog 541.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Make a motion for the supervisor to be able to sign it.
Oh, that wasn't made just now?
No, that was just acceptance of that.
Okay.
so far.
Mary just did it, though.
So Mary just did it?
Yeah. I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
5-1 we did, though.
Old business. We 5.1, we don't have to redo that since we amended it, correct, counsel?
The hiring of the highway department?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we hired him, we just changed the salary, that's what, really, that was in there.
The minutes were amended, yeah.
Oh, the minutes are amended?
5.1
Yeah,
has
you're
been
good on that.
amended early on.
That's
and-
done.
Okay.
Okay. Item 5.2,
Thank you.
amendment to the resolution we passed last year regarding last month, regarding the IT hardware proposal. We passed a resolution allocating $5,500 for the switches. There was actually 2 switches needed, one for upstairs and one for downstairs. So the amount
Came out.
is shown in here on your sales quote, and the amount is $9,860.24. So I would like a motion to approve that for $10,000. We had already approved the $5,500. It was an error in the way I read it. I did not see the 2 on the previous page, during the previous,
Oh, so these are two additional,
Yeah.
each one. All right. So it comes out.
it was on the last
Right.
paper we had.
Right.
One additional.
Right.
What you had.
It's one additional.
Right.
We had 2.
Okay.
We had one, we need
just need
2.
another one.
Right.
So that comes out to a total of $9,860.24.
$860.24.
You want
You want-
10,000?
Yeah, I would say 10,000 just to put a little. buffer in
10,000.
there.
All right, you want me to make that motion?
Yeah, if you
All
could.
right, I'll make the motion to accept the quote to purchase the IT hardware proposal at $10,000.
A
I will
second?
Approximate, no higher than 10,000.
No higher than.
I will second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. Item 5.3 is a budgetary transfer request for the building department to cover unexpected expenses in the budget year 2018. So this goes back to 18. He's just trying to balance his accounts. So he's going from account B 3620-4189 to B 3620-4101 of $1,000.
All right, I'll make that motion. It's a $1,000 to transfer from Bravo 3620-4189 to B as in Bravo 3620-4101, the amount of $1,000. And this is to cover the unexpected expense that goes back to 2018.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 5.4, Town of Monroe fee schedule.
Okay.
Councilwoman Bingham.
This is actually going to consist of 2 parts. The first part involves the town clerk section under peddler's fees. And the actual fee itself did not change, but the way the town clerk wishes to collect the money, that's changed. And since it's on the fee schedule and the town board approves it, I would like to have this officially approved once again with the amended changes. Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. So town clerk number 2, peddler's permit. A, 1-week permit, $185, bracket, 2 checks required, one in the amount of $100 and one in the amount of $85, close bracket. Any additional person under main permit, $85, bracket, on a separate check, bracket, close bracket. B, 1-month permit, $285, bracket, 2 checks required, one in the amount of $200 and one in the amount of $85, close bracket. Any additional person under main permit, $85, on a separate check, close bracket. C, 6-month permit, $685, 2 checks required, one in the amount of $600 and one in the amount of $85, close bracket. Any additional person under main permit, $85, bracket, on a separate check, close bracket. And as I said, that'll just facilitate keeping track of the background checks.
Also, too, because the background checks come out of the supervisor's budget under the Human Resources of Employment. That's where the background checks are done. So how it will be is that separate money, I will be writing out a check to bookkeeping separately just for the background checks. So the money is put through that department.
Human Resources.
Yeah. Okay, so it's much cleaner that we do it this way.
Okay.
So I'd
So we
like,
need a motion?
I'd make a motion that we accept the fee schedule as of today's date, February 4th, 2019, with the wording that I just read.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Again, I
Okay.
Okay.
Mary, did you want to go over zoning board changes?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the second part. We also had a correspondence from Mike Murphy, who is the new chair of the ZBA, and he is proposing changes to the Zoning Board of Appeals section of the fee schedule. Can I make a motion first and then read it, so I don't have to read it twice?
sure.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we accept the following changes as per the request of the ZBA Chairman, Mike Murphy. Zoning Board of Appeals, 1, application for an area variance, $600. 2, application for a use variance, $600. 3, application for a 288 variance, $600. 4, application for an interpretation, $600. 5, upon application to the Town of Monroe Zoning Board of Appeals for any action or approval, the applicant shall, in addition to the fees set forth above, deposit with the town clerk an escrow to cover the costs to be incurred by the town for all consultant services, including but not limited to engineering, planning, and legal, as well as clerical costs incurred in the process and reviewing of such application. 5A, the clerk to the zoning board shall compute the initial escrow amount in accordance with the following schedule. A, small lowercase a, application of all types, $2,500, notwithstanding the foregoing, should the amount held on deposit at any time dip below 80% of the initial payment of an amount necessary to bring the balance to 80% shall be due in addition to the amount of the next installment. B, the clerk to the zoning board shall have the authority to waive or reduce the initial escrow in those matters where it appears the engineering or other consultant services will not be required. Should such services later be required, an appropriate escrow fee will be fixed by the zoning board. And those are the changes.
Okay. You made that motion, I'll second it?
for discussion.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, so I know one of the things when we changed some of the provisions in our chapter 57 was the with the accessory apartment, that people to kind of streamline it so that they were, you know, before they'd go to the clerk, they'd get the permit. I'm sorry, they'd go to the building department, get the permit, and go forward that way. is that, so they're gonna have to pay 600 on top of what they would pay to go to the
Well, they have to
planning
go
board?
to the planning board first, yes.
Right.
And then they usually refer them to the ZBA.
I guess what my question is it automatic that they go to the ZBA, or is it only if they are,
We have a problem because the current zoning is based on a real acre.
Right.
Most properties within the town of Monroe are not a real acre. They're
40,000
Yeah, they're less than
square feet.
40,000 square feet.
Right.
So I'm going to say like 99% of the time, they
It
are
triggers
referred to the ZBA.
I mean, listen, I don't, on someone that's doing an accessory apartment as per our, our new code, do we want to be hitting them with 600 bucks on top of what they're already, laying out for this?
Mike's, Chairman Murphy's logic behind it was all four variances, well, 3 variances and the interpretation, take up the same amount of time for the ZBA.
Right.
And the ZBA, even with these increases, I had a conversation with Planning Board Secretary Noreen McSweeney today. It still will be at a loss per the department. So the ZBA will not operate at a,
They're
Yeah.
not even break even.
yeah, break even. That's
Oh, you
with,
know-
that's with this
With the
increase.
increase.
All right, so you know what I'm saying, though, right?
I
So, like,
totally-
I want to put an accessory
You're
apartment in
looking
for
at-
my mother-in-law, which wouldn't happen, but I'm just saying, if only because she's not alive. But just if I was to do that, then here I am,
150 at the planning, then
150 at
600.
the planning, and now because we changed the zoning from 43 to from 40,000 to 43,000 square feet, now I'm laying out another 600 bucks, basically to get something like you've got. And listen, we know why we did it. It eliminated those abuses. We're not worried about that now. I just don't want to have something that's so onerous on the homeowner. That's all.
I happen to concur. We now also have a limitation of how long people have to be living at that same address. So my take on this is going to be our biggest issue as far as one of the bigger issues in this state is the fact that 9 or 8 out of 10 retirees move out of the state. And these folks can't help out taking care of their children getting married, having kids. Sometimes the kids may take the basement, sometimes the parents will take the basement. And so what do we, I mean, how much more can we put on top of them in addition to the tax? It's just something to consider, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could do a
So
separate,
do
like
you,
a separate.
do you want to adjust the use variance cost?
That-
Because an area variance is
Is
something
right. Is
that
it-
is going to increase the size of the house.
Right, and I'm not, by all means,
Okay.
that's something that should
So,
stay.
an application for a use variance, do you want to make it 400?
Can we do a sub-use variance? for
No,
that?
I don't want to change use variance, because sometimes that
Right.
is not in apartments, that could be some other use variance.
Right, they could be going from
From a
from a
residential
synagogue
to
to a town
a.
hall.
Right.
Okay, so,
Business. So
Can I
maybe
wanna
there
make-
should be another section there for
Yeah, that's what I'm
application
saying,
for an
should we do a
apartment,
subsection for,
accessory apartment.
Because you have a time frame on how long people have to live there. Was it 10 years?
yeah.
10 years.
So, council, how would you,
You can add a provision that would say an application, for variances from the accessory apartment law and put a dollar amount.
I mean, it's currently 250 is what we're,
Well, it's up to you what the amount is, but I'm saying you could have a different line item so that that would stand on its own. If you're concerned that that might be, significant, $600 for that type of application.
but I think your concern is only because they're already going to the planning board to get denied.
right, and
Paying
the reason they're going to
150.
the ZBA is because they've.
They have to get denied by
we've
planning.
made them basically non-conforming, you know what I mean? So,
All right.
I mean, listen, I'm just
No, I mean,
throwing it out there. I
Is
mean,
it something we can pass the next meeting and discuss it or we can discuss it in executive, or to come up with a dollar amount? I mean, for us to just come up with a dollar amount off the top of our head.
You know,
Well, you're taking this in pieces, correct? You already did the first
we
change?
did the, right, we did the
Yeah,
first
so now this
change.
is just this ZBA portion of the fees?
Right.
Right,
So you could, if you wanted, adopt all except for,
Use.
you could adopt all these, but just indicate that you're going to modify it, for a accessory apartments if you want to wait and come up with a number. Because I understand that you just want to have a different number for the accessory apartments, correct?
that's possible,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, we really can't go into executive session to discuss the number, since it's not,
Right.
there's no
See,
reason for
I
it.
just don't want to back into what we just left. But at the same time, what are we doing to, people
why don't we-
want to...
Based on this, was it 350, Councilwoman Bingham?
It was
It
Was
was.
450?
If
Yeah.
they were doing under the existing schedule, somebody was
All
coming
right,
in
so
for an
make it
accessory apartment.
350?
I mean, you could leave it at that number for accessory apartments if you don't want to make a change, because it looks like it was 350 to begin with.
And they're already paying, I believe it's 175 at the planning board. So just to Councilman McGinn's point, how much do we want to charge the applicant in total?
What is
You
the
have a-
planning board number?
Guys, can you please refrain from talking? Thank you.
Mike, what's the planning board number?
175 is the planning board number, Mary?
Actually, I thought we had a copy
No,
of
we
the,
increased it, I think.
Oh, yeah. that's
yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Let's see. 150.
150, okay.
So you'd be at 500 if you had the 350 fee on top of that.
All right.
Listen, if the board is okay with that, I mean, I think that's fair. It's not like they're
You know
coming.
what I'm saying? It's
They're not,
because-
they're not coming directly to the ZBA. I
Right.
get it,
There's a
Yeah,
a
it's they're
fire.
getting sent there because of,
but they're not,
It's the area variance that
Right,
they
the
usually
area.
have to go for.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and your escrow is 500 for an accessory apartment on page 5.
Yes. Yep. Letter G. Okay, so what is the board's preference?
I would, again, do a subsection for the use variance and make it, and keep it 350.
No, I don't want to put it under use variance. I
Yeah, my
want it
suggestion
is-
specifically
Yes.
as a accessory apartment.
Just add another number there that will be applications for variance from provisions of the accessory apartment law, 350, or if that's the number we're going with.
Okay,
Right, and only those that caused the applicant to have to go before the board due to the change of acre size, because that's why they're going, or lot size.
And do you want to also change something under escrow that they maybe only need to put in $500?
That's what it is now, I think.
Yeah,
Well, that's under planning board, I thought.
oh, so under this, you have to do application of
that's
all
under
types
planning.
of 2,500.
Right, so,
Well, they're gonna get that money back, so,
right, but
Yeah.
why do they have to dish it out to begin with if it's?
Well, because they're going to be adding that on. It's going to be a lot more that they're going to be spending to put at that accessory apartment. So,
because I'm gonna tell you, I know Mark went through the most recent one, and he
They
was
spent a
out
lot of
there
time.
quite a bit. I mean,
Right.
I know their fees, just the portion that we deflected to the town because it was the first one.
Right,
So they still ended up paying, I think, about $800 or $900,
right.
the applicant. So 500 is most
and this was
definitely
on a
too low.
simple,
This was on a simple
Lot-
accessory.
no, I'm just saying, it was on a
It's
simple because the lot
accessory
size
apartment.
got changed by the,
No, it didn't even have to do with that.
well, that's what I'm saying, on those that deal with, that the reason they're going to the ZBA is strictly because we changed the lot size from 43 to 40,000.
Yeah, I think this is bigger than an acre, but.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in that type of that's why I want to kind of stipulate what that,
See, because the planning board really doesn't have to do any, I mean, they're taking a $500 amount in escrow, but they're really not going out for, any
That money gets returned anyway.
inspection fees. So,
You know, I know
And
what
if they
you're saying,
come
but I'm
back
just
with
saying
all
if-
the
if it's a
variances
simple
from
matter
the
of looking at
ZBA,
map
they're not
and saying,
going
oh,
to
the
be-
reason
hold
you're
on,
doing
wait.
it-
Right. If they go to the ZBA and they get all their variances, when they come back to the planning board, it should be a breeze to go through the planning board.
Hey,
I'm
Can
sorry,
we,
what'd you
can
say?
we, can we, maybe just table
wanna
this to the
table that part?
25th? Yeah,
You want
just,
to table that part?
yeah.
Specifically?
Yeah, just a conversation I was having with the town clerk, too. We might need to change, a couple of the spots have the escrow being deposited with the town clerk, and I'm advised that they're typically deposited
Yeah.
with the ZBA clerk or the planning board clerk, not the town clerk.
Okay.
But who actually puts a deposit in? Do they go to the?
They go to the ZBA and as secretary, and they hand her the check.
Right, but then where does she go with that money after? Does she
She
give
goes
it
to
to?
finance, and it gets deposited
To
in their
finance,
account. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just see one reference in escrow fees under the planning board, and then there's, that section 5 in the ZBA has the town clerk, so that should be ZBA clerk.
Okay.
That's part of the same section we're talking about, so,
All right, you want to then table the whole thing then?
Yeah, maybe,
Till the next meeting.
yeah, to the
to
25th.
the 25th.
Give a little time to talk to
Okay,
them.
so I'll make a motion to table the zoning board
Listen, you know,
of
you know what I'm trying to
appeals.
do? I'm just trying to, you know, someone that's just trying to do a simple accessory
Yeah.
for, a you know, family member or whatever, and now, because we changed the lot size, they have to go to ZBA and lay out all this additional money.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we table the zoning board of appeals fee schedule
Till next meeting.
till next meeting, February 25th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again,
Okay, so moved.
and we did have a proposal, I don't know if you want to address this or do it next time, about authorizing the town clerk to make administrative changes to the fee schedule other than the amounts.
Well, I'm the only one that answered your email, so
Yeah,
I don't have
know
any,
if anyone wants to discuss that, or you want me to put it on for next time, proposed language.
No problem.
which way?
Put it on next time, and I'll give you a proposed language to add to
Yeah.
it regarding that.
Yep,
yeah, that'd be great.
okay. Anything else on that, Mary?
No.
Okay. WIA grant resolutions.
I'm going to have to speak with our attorney. I have a new contact person. He's over at the Bureau of Water Supply Protection, New York State Department of Health. So I'd like to speak to this an attorney-client.
Okay.
Is that a topic we could discuss in attorney-client
I'm
counsel?
sorry, I was just making a note on the other fee schedule. What was the topic?
We grant resolutions
Grant.
for Water District 12.
Right. I guess it's hard for me to say because I don't know what we're discussing, so,
Resolutions, and since it involves
There was resolutions submitted that were not
accepted by
accepted by the
the state.
state.
oh, okay, yes, yeah, they were prepared by council, or bond council,
for-
yeah.
And
bond
the
counsel.
secret one that we
Yeah,
did.
so that would be an attorney-client
Okay.
matter, so
Okay.
we can go in for that purpose.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, items 5.6 and 5, well, let's start with 5.6. The review of the proposals for the electrician services.
Okay, there were some deficiencies in that. I'd like to ask the board that we not accept these, and it also came to light that there were some questions from some of the vendors out there that they would like to actually be able to go out and see some of the water districts. And that wasn't in our original RFP.
Okay,
I'll second that. Are you making that as a motion that we reject all
We
the bids
reject it.
and then have?
Yeah, we
Right.
just need to be clear, so are we going to reject all proposals?
Yes, well, the
Because then-
electricians and then a sec.
Then we would need to reissue, in other words, the RFP, okay.
Revise and reissue, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay, call it, any other discussion?
So can we make this separate motion for each RFP to
Yes,
reject?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is
This
just
is
electric.
electric.
This is
just-
electric.
no.
Okay, so we're all
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay,
Okay, who made those motions, please?
That motion was made by Mary,
And
I
I
believe,
seconded
seconded by, what,
Mike.
Sal, or?
Mike.
Mike,
Mike.
Okay.
okay. Mary, 5.7, a
And the same
review of-
thing, the review of the proposals for the plumbing services. I'd like to reject those RFPs.
Cologne, second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin I.
Okay, so moved. Item 6.1, public comment, 6.2, public comment.
Jim Rogers?
Jim Rogers, Town of Monroe resident. I'd just like to give a compliment to the Highway Department. This last snow, I know the salt didn't work because it was really cold, but I go out very early in the morning. The town roads and the county road, Cedar Cliff, that I use, bare. Wonderful shape. I get down to County 5, not so good. Village roads, the state road. So I want to give a compliment to the Highway Department here above all the rest this time around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Mary, Madam Clerk, before you go on next, Legislator Tui is here. Would you like to give a quick update?
He looks tan, doesn't
He always looks tan.
Thank you for letting me come up, Supervisor and the board.
You're welcome.
I just have two quick updates. One is with the streetlights. When I saw the list that you had supplied, I see, as you mentioned before, it's been discussed here before, a lot of county roads are on there. So I started the discussion with Eric Denenga. He's the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works. He said, get me a list, so I just got the list the other day on Friday. So I forwarded to him with an email. When you look at, Lakes Road, County Road 5, there's probably a couple dozen that are on there. So, I told him, I said, can you look into this and find out, it's apparently the town's getting charged for them. So he said, no problem. So he's going to look at all the county roads on there.
Okay.
And try to see what is going on with that, how it started, and why the town's getting paid for a county road for those lights.
Okay. Thank you.
Just the other update is with regard to the community development block grants. They've been running without a director for 6-7 months now, and I'm happy to say that the Nicole Anderson, who's been acting director, got the full-time position on that. I met with her about 2 weeks ago. She's got great ideas on how to update that department, make things go smoother. As you know, when you submit those applications, it's in a binder with pages falling out and, photocop pictures of papers, and there's a way to bring them up into, the digital age. So
Ours were in 3-ring binders, so nothing fell out.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean Monroe, it was other towns,
Right.
And
And
then
that
just
was nothing that I did, that was Jennifer.
No, I didn't. Monroe was great. You're getting what you wanted, and we just want to keep it that way too.
Thank you.
And then there's just one other position, the budget director. They've been running without a budget director for, I don't know, since I got in there last year. So Deb Zeslinski has gotten that position too.
All right, good.
So as soon as I hear back from the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, I'll come back and report to this board.
All right, thank you, and thank you
Thank
for your
you.
help
Thank
with
you,
that.
Mr. Tui.
Hey, Mr. Tui, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
When you spoke to the commissioner, was it his belief or feeling? I know he's kind of new in the position.
Yeah.
Does the county in other towns, do they cover the lighting costs?
You know what? He wasn't aware of it. Never heard anything about that.
Okay. I know he's new, so
He's new also.
yeah.
But I know on everything else that I've gone to him with, he's very expeditious and gets
Okay,
right back
great.
to you. So it's new for him too. He's looking into it, and it's just for. I don't want to speculate, but I'm just thinking like if there's an intersection with a town road and a county road,
Yeah,
who knows
right.
what deals they made long ago. But
Yeah.
we're going to get the clarification on it.
All right, thanks for
Good
your
job.
efforts there.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorraine Loning?
Hi, good evening, Lorraine Loning, Village of Monroe. I have two things. The first I want to talk about is the FOIL request. I brought that up at the last meeting, and I explained to you how I was denied. They didn't exist. And yeah, that's cool. But I'm thinking as a process that perhaps before you do any resolutions or big projects, maybe there should be an executive summary or something of that sort where you can outline the decisions that were made and how you came to these decisions. And, you know, if it's foiled, you can redact it heavily or deny it. But I think as a form of institutional knowledge that future boards, because you're not going to be here forever, are you?
I hope not.
Hope not.
That future boards will benefit from your knowledge and expertise and the folks that you spoke to. So I think that might be something to consider. I know that when I'm in business, you kind of make notes and stuff so that future folks can benefit. The second thing I want to talk about is we have town hall now, and the uses for this. I was driving by on Saturday evening, and there looked like there was a party, fun party. Is that because this is a part of our new business for the town, or is it just stuff that was sort of sunsetted into the...
I'll explain
Okay,
it to you
cool.
when you're done.
So I just kind of wanted to know, I mean, maybe that's a good idea to have parties at town hall, but I was just kind of wondering what the dilly was with that. And also, I want to talk about the stained glass window on top of town hall. That's kind of an issue when you separate church and state, and I was wondering if there are any plans to remove that or
Yes.
to how that's going to be remedied. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ward Brower?
Ward Brower, private citizen.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Last time, comments I made was nothing personal. I'm talking about the office, not the person. So one individual may have taken it as a personal attack. Believe me, it wasn't. I've raised this question with past two administrations. I'm referring to the full-time versus part-time supervisor. Nothing personal about that. I don't do personal attacks. But I do recommend that maybe you ought to have a class on the Constitution, federal Constitution, and First Amendment rights, because as an individual and a citizen, I have a right to express a belief as long as I do not do it in a threatening manner or swear or anything like that. And just because I'm a member of a quasi-board, I don't lose that requirement or duty or privilege. And I do state as a private individual. I make the point to do that. Do not intertwine my other position with my personal point. Supervisor Leonard, I raised a question about a full-time. She was the first. I raised it with Harley Doles. It was the second. Their answer was we would have the fastest growing town in County of Orange, and if not also the largest population. And I could not argue that point. But that has changed. That has changed. We're no longer the fastest growing, or we are the largest, most populous town in the County of Orange. Now, when you get to a supervisor's roles, there are certain specific roles that he is designated to do, he or she. If he wants to do more, he or she is able to do that. When you enter, I heard the argument that you should be compensated for your time. People who enter public service should not enter public service to be compensated. Maybe in a dictatorship or a monarchy or something like that, but not in a representative form of democracy. I can name 3 organizations in this town that depend on volunteers: Rescue Squad / Ambulance Corps, Fire Medics, and even on the Conservation Commission. We get nothing. I know many individuals on that put in many hundreds, if not thousands of hours over the years. Don't get compensated. We don't look for money. That should not be raised. That issue should not be raised. If you want to do the work, do. No one says that you have to micromanage every department. As far as the new town hall, it's a done deal. I don't think it's in the best interest, even no matter how good, because I'm going to use the same argument that was used by this United Party when they talked about the theater. The theater was a great deal. It was cheap, but counter argument from this United group was, we don't need it. We shouldn't have it. Those are things that was raised, and there's nothing personal about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Wood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Goldstein?
Good evening, Mike Goldstein, resident of the town and the village. I'm a little confused about the fee schedule. It seems to me that what you're trying to do with that is retroactively enforce building codes. If these homes were built and passed and have certificates of occupancy, which were legal at the time they were made, why should we make them now go to the Zoning Board of Appeals because you changed the size of lots? It seems like it's a retroactive zoning change, which should not affect people that already have homes for 30 or 40 years. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, that's all.
That's it.
Thank you.
Lorraine, I'll go first just to answer your questions. We're in the process of setting a policy for the celebration hall, if you want to call it right now. We will be renting or having an agreement to have, celebrations or events in there, functions. The congregation on Saturday nights has a kiddish still. They're going to be in there till the end of March, maybe sometime or real early April. So that was them on Saturday night. The Journey Church is still currently having their services there on Sundays. We're entering an agreement with them. They're only going to be there a couple months. And as for the stained glass, the plans right now, because of the fact that that has to be removed with a lift, we spoke to the congregation. I spoke to the congregation, and when we do the renovations for the court, that's when that will be taken out. It would be, number one, too costly to get a lift in there right now, and number two, the rabbi's podium, that's all in the way right now. So there's no way that a lift could get in there without damaging anything, and they're in the process of moving that out, and the artifacts as well that they have in there. Answer your questions? Yep, thank you. Okay, thank you.
What are you replacing it with?
What are we replacing it with? Well,
We got a couple
the
of
talk is the town.
Shamrock? What are we
got
putting
the
this?
talk is the town of Monroe logo.
That'd be great.
With Mr. Nugent's picture right in the center
Oh,
of
listen.
it.
Well, we actually have a picture of the supervisor. We might be able to put it.
Yeah, we'll get that one up there, right.
Ouch.
So, yeah, that's, there was, we spoke about, when I say we, some of the employees on one, we spoke about possibly a clock, but the clock has maintenance and there's,
Right.
other
I like
issues.
the
with
town
it.
logo.
So,
Yeah, just wondering.
I think the town logo
I think it would
will
look
be
great.
perfect in there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think that's
Yep.
the largest it will be the largest catering hall in the area, if I'm not mistaken, too. It's 165 people we could fit in that room.
In Monroe?
Yeah.
In Monroe,
In
yeah.
Monroe.
Yeah, in Monroe, yeah.
So, yeah, Lorraine, definitely going to look to rent that out for
And
parties.
just,
in the future.
Lorraine, just so you know, for the last 2 years, and this year, it will be the third, it's next week and then the week after, and George has, organized this for the last few years. A group of engineers are going to be coming in from all over the country. They're going to be having their continuing education seminars there. There's about 30 of them that come in, so we're still holding that, and the town receives $3,500 for that.
Good.
Like I said, that's something that would be developed, what type of events. Obviously, we're not going to allow bachelor parties and things like that there because that could get out of hand. But we'll,
We could supervise those.
Yeah. Well, been there, done that. So, but yeah, no worries. It's just another means of income to help pay off the building. Does anyone want to go, or you want me to go first?
ahead.
All right. Jim Rogers, I concur with you totally. I went out early that morning too. Town roads are in great shape. Can't say the same for the state, and 17M was a mess. Lots of hard packed ice on it through the entire village. A lot of the village roads left a lot to be desired, but the town roads were excellent, and I called John Sherney and commended him for the good job that they did. It was difficult conditions, to say the least, and they did a great job with it. Lorraine, the executive summary is a great idea. It's for historical and other, and other purposes to keep track of these projects. And there's a lot of balls up in the air with us and most town boards, village boards. So it is a good idea, and it's something that we have to, I think, revisit and figure out a way to do it and who would do it and depending on the project or so. Ward, First Amendment rights, everyone's entitled to them. I think are pretty well adept at what the First Amendment is and the rights of people to, protest and all the things that go along with it. For 25 years I was in law enforcement, so I kind of, what the line is there. But I also know that for municipal employees, like police officers and other people, there are limits to what you can say in free speech. Like I can't get up and say anti-Semitic or anti-racial things and things like that, or even things that have been held up in court. I can't get up or put on my Facebook page, that the chief in my department is, a knucklehead or worse language. Or wear something on my Facebook page that has a questionable logo. So there are limits to free speech, and no one's limiting your free speech here. You know what I mean? I don't feel we are, and respect your opinion. I'm going to segue that right into the supervisor full time. Listen, we spelled it out at the last meeting. There was no supervision here for 4 years, 5 years, and things ran amok. And I don't think Tony micromanages. I think he's got a very good rapport with the department heads. I think they like having a supervisor that shows up to work and is there every day, that they can go to and ask stuff, that isn't off the wall, that's not going to make crazy decisions, that will consult with other town board members to come up with reasonable policies and solutions to problems. And public service, is something that some of it's volunteer, but some of it's paid. And you know what? If you were going to say all public servants should just do it, whether it be congressmen or senators or you name it, or emergency service people, you're going to have a real hard time getting people. You know what I mean? Listen, we do it. There's very little pay for this. You know what I mean? If I broke down the hours I put into this and what I do, it's like 10 cents an hour. You know what I mean? But you don't do it for the money. We did it because it was something that had to be done. But listen, having someone at the helm full time doing what Mr. Cardone does is irreplaceable and has helped to move this town forward in ways that hasn't happened in quite a few years. The theater town hall comparison, I kind of lost you on that. I don't know, kind of where you're trying to go with that, and I can talk to you afterwards. I don't see a comparison between the two. You know what I mean? We bought the town hall because we needed a new building. One of size. We're consolidating courts and other operations, building department, everything into one building, which is going to be cost effective at the end. All right. We will dispose of the other building, and that will be a benefit of the town. So, and again, you couldn't pass up this deal. You heard other municipalities looking to lay out, $8, $9, $10 million on the town hall, and we've got a beautiful building for 2.5. Listen, be nice if it was free, but you know what? The brick building on stage doesn't work anymore, and consolidating all our operations into one building does make sense for a variety of reasons. And Mr. Coldstein, you're 100% right. People shouldn't be penalized for changes that made them non-conforming, and that was what I was kind of trying to address with this.
Just grandfather them in?
Well, it's something something that we should look into, and it's something that when we do revisions down the road that we will look at. That's all I got.
Mary?
Thank you.
Mary?
Well, I wanted to say this earlier in the meeting, not directly towards public comments, but North Main Elementary School is trying to get $25,000 for a playground. So there was a nice little article in the Photo News about going to danimals.com/school grants with purpose each day. It's a kind of a long website, but I just thought I'd mention that now during public comments. I agree with Lorraine, the executive summary, historical perspective, you know, we're not going to be here forever, so somebody else comes in. It's a great place for them to start. Highway always does a good job with the roads. I'm always very happy with them. I know they're going to be out on pothole detail real soon because the weather has been very tough. Eric Denega, I've worked with him in the past, so I'm glad he's getting involved with the lights. I think that's going to be a good resource for us to try to resolve this lighting issue on the county roads. Same thing with the retroactive zoning changes, Mr. Goldstein. Yeah, we didn't realize how much it was going to impact until we started seeing people come forward saying, I don't have a conforming lot. It's, like I said, it wasn't always 40,000, you know, it's a builder's lot that most, actually mine is even less than that. It's a half acre, but it's not a full half acre. So anytime I would need something, I would probably end up before the ZBA if I couldn't meet setbacks. So as Mr. McGinn said, this is something we're going to have to definitely research and see how many people it's affecting and what we can do, whether through planning board or zoning board chapter changes, how we can address that issue. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman
All
Cologne.
right, so I'll make a motion that Mary does the executive summaries. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll second that one. No, I'm not going to re-summarize everything that's been said because everybody, we pretty much on the same page with much of that. But I would like to say this about particular comments and criticisms. I should say observations that are made by the general public. No government is perfect, and God help us if it is, because if it is, it's not true. We're people just like you. We depend on your input. We'll make changes that we see that where we can make things better for people, and we'll do that. As far as some comments that were made by other individuals saying that perhaps the supervisor job should be part-time, the reason I cannot really wholeheartedly agree with that is because there are a lot of new laws, there's a lot of new perspectives that are out there that were never out there in the 1950s and 1940s, 1960s, 1970s. A lot of standards have changed, and with those changes, it demands a lot more time. That being said, many of us on the board put in more than what would be considered a part-time deal. It's not a complaint, it's just an admission of fact. To that end, no one is complaining with the hours that we have to put in or how we have to answer to the public. We do this out of public service. And I am greatly certain that each and every one of us on this board do the best that we possibly can each and every day to represent the town and to make things better. With the theater, yes, that has been a bone of contention with this town. However, it is now leased and will soon become a revenue source. As far as the new building goes for the town hall, we're consolidating services. We're trying to get things organized a bit more. Getting a municipal building is not an inexpensive or cheap thing that you take on. It gets very costly. And we try to be very judicious in every dollar we spend on behalf of the town. So please be aware of the fact that many of us spend much more than a 40-hour work week, you know, on this, as well as, you know, our vacation, our days off and whatever we have to do. And that is not a complaint. Please don't take it that way. It's just an observation of fact, and we do that as public servants. So please understand that point that I'm trying to make. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman Cologne. Councilman Scangarello?
I spoke about Lorraine.
All right. One other thing before we move to executive session. I know Charles is here. Did you want to speak?
No, I don't think it's necessary to speak publicly.
Okay, because we're going to go into speak in executive session, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Attorney-client.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on the board?
Supervisor, if I may, I just want to address, because I consider myself the gatekeeper of constitutional violations as to Mr. Brower's comment. In all fairness, what the First Amendment protects is a restriction or a penalty or some action being taken against you for First Amendment speech. In this case, the supervisor expressing an opinion after you've spoken, which is what I recall happening. You were allowed to finish, and then there was a comment later about his disagreement with what you did. That's not a violation of the First Amendment, okay? But having said that, the protection under the First Amendment is against some action being taken against you, or if we said to you, you cannot come up here and speak. I'd be the first one here if I was asked by this board and you wanted to come up and comment that the supervisor should be part-time. Clearly, that's within your First Amendment rights, and I don't think that you were restricted in that regard.
Wasn't raising that question.
Okay.
All right.
Bring it next time, whatever.
Okay.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk, did you have something that had to be brought up from the floor?
Refresh my memory.
Oh, okay.
It was a long day
It was
today.
I think Jen had brought something in, we needed a resolution for the
Oh, the choice
invasive.
words?
Yeah, that, yep.
Okay, yes. There's, Choice Words is a LLC, and they're prepared to begin work immediately if the board approves this, to assist the town of Monroe with its efforts to seek funding for the invasive species grant program offered by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC. They will work closely with the supervisor on this. There's a deadline with this, and it's February 15th. So we're speaking with Jen. We're asking the board to approve this tonight, and it would be to accomplish the work at the rate of $90 an hour for an estimated 40 hours. Prior to beginning the work of this project, Choice Words would bill the town for the first 20 hours of work at $1,800, and then bill once upon completion. So they would also be designating the supervisor as the appointee for this, and it's a restrictive deadline. Successful completion and submission of the grant application will depend on timely registration in the grants gateway and responsive in providing necessary project information.
All right, we want to make a motion to come out of executive session and back into our regular meeting.
Okay, I'll make that motion to come out of executive and back into the regular meeting.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Again,
Okay, so moved. Okay, Councilman McGinn, Mr. Nugent, you have a resolution regarding on-force solar?
Yes, Supervisor, this would be, I'll state the resolution and somebody can adopt it to make the motion. So
Councilman
the
McGinn was
resolution
going to.
is to authorize the town supervisor to execute documents amending the solar power energy services agreement with On-Force Solar. And the amendment to those documents will be subject to a payment to the town of Monroe at closing on the solar farm in the amount of $45,000.
Okay, Councilman.
I'd like to make that, I'd like to make a motion in the, as stated by the town attorney.
I'll second. Cologne, second.
Cologne, Councilman Cologne seconded. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. I would like to make a motion regarding our town prosecutor for the courts. I would like to approve the law firm of Ferrick, Nugent, McCartney at a cost of $200 per hour.
I'll second that motion.
And wait, to begin on February 13th. Okay, seconded by Councilman McGinn. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
So moved.
Okay, can I make a motion? All right, I'd like to make a motion to allow the town to apply for the invasive species grant, and that any documents that need to be signed would be approved, could be signed by the town supervisor, Mr. Cardone.
Cologne to second.
Cologne to second. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Okay.
Councilman Scancarello?
No, I've got the check
got
number.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's right.
I want to make a motion that check number 23537 for purchase order number 1802571 be voided and to be resubmitted for
Adjustment.
adjustment.
Cologne to second.
Seconded by Councilman Cologne. Do we have to list the
Dollar amount?
percentage on that?
The reduction?
Yeah.
You can just say 50%.
Okay.
Okay.
Reduce it by
So
50%.
To be, for adjustment of 50%.
So I'll make that, revise that motion to say for adjustment of 50% reduction.
Cologne to second.
Cologne second. Any other discussion?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay,
Mary's done?
Mary's done.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to resubmit the RFP for the town water districts for the proposal for the electrical and plumbing services.
But two separate RFPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just do one for plumbing and then one for electric.
Okay, so I'll resubmit the RFP for town water district for the electrical services.
And I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
I'd like to make a motion to resubmit the RFP town water district for the plumbing services as well.
Cologne
Okay.
to second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
So moved. Any other items on the agenda from the floor? So I will make a motion to adjourn the February 4th Town Board meeting at 10:10.
Cologne to second at 10:10.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.